If we win this war, we can change the course of history.
Welcome to this latest edition of The Real Deal Podcast. And hosts Surreal Gerald Quinn, recording this on a Sunday, episode 906. As I continue to look at Snowfall seasons 1 through 3, we are now on season 2, episode 1, Sightlines. Season 2 is like probably my favorite season. Between season 2 and season 3, I will probably make that determination once I'm done this rewatch. I would probably lean towards season 2, but 3 was dope as well. This was a season where you see all the pieces just come together. Like you see Franklin, Teddy, Lucia, Pedro, also, everybody, Jerome. You see them all are intertwined. I thought, again, it's very close between seasons 2 and 3. You can go either one. Either one you can go as the best season. But these are clearly one of these two seasons are clearly the two best are clearly the best seasons, either 2 or 3. We begin with our themes for the season. Not for the season. Well, it could be the season. But our themes definitely for this episode: heavy the head that wears the crown. We see Franklin, Lucia, and also struggling with more responsibility, more product, more problems. The old line from Biggie: more money, more problems. And both of those, all these characters are struggling with that. I can even include Teddy in this matter. Put Teddy in this category as well, but mainly Franklin, Lucy, and also we'll flush that out as the podcast progresses. So the AV Club gave this episode a B. I'm just convinced the AV Club just doesn't like Snowfall. Like up until this point, they've given more negative feedback than positive. They loved the season finale, but did not like this episode. They had a problem with the opening montage. Said it was too, because in the opening they said we fast forward 4 months later. First of all, and this is why I have a problem with AV. With AV and that whole, and this is why I don't pay attention to when people give movie reviews, because I tend to have my own opinion. But I'm just for some content's sake, want to see what people were saying about this show during that particular time. The problem I have with AV from that standpoint is when you're away for a year with as much content as there is on television, you have to do some type of recap or opening montage of that nature to get the audience caught up. Like, it's not like, now there are some Snowfall fans that probably monitor the show year round, as far as some recap shows that do these shows. Like, shout out to Mark Dark, who does all these recap shows for Power, Snowfall, and what have you. There are people that will watch that. But for the most part, the audience, there's so much content. The audience is not going to be able to remember what happened last season off the rip. Like, especially a story as complicated as this story, with the whole, Iran Contra and the FBI, the government funding, distributing cocaine to, for the fight the war, to fight this war. There were some complex elements to this story. So, and there's also a lot of characters as well. You got new characters coming in. So there's no way that you cannot do a montage or something like that to get the audience caught up. So I had no problem. I love the montage. Matter of fact, it shows you where the characters are at, shows you how they progress, what they, any kind of sets up the season. We give a quick recap. Lucia and Franklin struggle with the crown, and Teddy goes home. So that is the quick recap of this episode. Now we can get into the deep dive. So there were a number of new faces in the season. These are three of the 4 prominent new faces that we will see. I can also include, Gabriella. We'll talk about Gabriella Elias, who's, a queen pin. We'll talk more about her over the course of the episode. But these 3 characters: Peaches, Matt and Wanda will play vital roles. As a matter of fact, these are all recurring characters. None of these characters are main characters as of right now. They will play vital roles in determining the fates and what happens in the season. So these are three key characters to watch out for over the course of this season, and in two of them over the course of, frankly, the rest of the series. To be honest with you, so that definitely something to definitely keep your eyes on these characters. We get to know two of these characters have an immediate impact on this episode 1 of season 2. Best scenes: Teddy and Matt. So Teddy needs a pilot. The government has cut off his funding the government has cut off the funding for the war. Teddy, in essence, is on his own. So how does Teddy get money for the war? He has to sell cocaine. In essence, not him himself, but he has to he has cocaine that he needs a drug dealer to sell so he can make money to fund the war. But he also needs a pilot to do the deliveries for distribution. So he recruits his brother Matt. He goes back to Kansas City to see Matt. He clearly doesn't have a relationship or a strong relationship with his father. He looks through a window to see his brother Matt helping out his father. Then they meet up in a pool hall, catch up a little bit, and then he explains to Matt the mission and what he needs him for. Matt, of course, as we come to find out, was a Vietnam pilot, so he's a professional pilot. And again, and this is a recurring theme with this show in regards to Teddy and also Franklin. They don't care about who they have to use to get what they want. Like you're bringing in your brother for a government, in essence, a operation that, this is not help me move my stuff, or I need to borrow some money here. Like you're bringing your brother for a life-threatening operation that can get both of you killed. But again, Teddy is focused on the mission. Teddy, like Franklin, is going to do whatever it takes. Just is going to do whatever it takes to serve his own cause, even if it means, bringing in his brother for a dangerous operation. So they catch up, and again, Teddy discusses that business with Matt, and then we'll see Matt a couple times over the course of this particular episode. Franklin, Peaches, Jerome, and Louis. So Peaches, we see Peaches in one of the scenes before Franklin. We get introduced to Peaches earlier in the episode where he is standing guard of Jerome's house. They of course had a little mini house party, a funny scene. And Jerome busts in and catches Kevin having sex with two girls, and then next thing he whipping the girls with his belt and whipping Frank or whipping on Kevin. So that was so we get introduced to Peaches from that standpoint. He's on the porch. He's the new enforcer. Peaches earns his keep immediately as two guys break into Jerome's house. He shoots them dead. Now, these two guys one of these guys was a bail bondsman. Leon and Abby get arrested. They go to bail. So Franklin and Jerome go see how much money Leon's bond. They try to go see how much Leon's bond is going to cost. It's 10%. It's $50,000. So 10% of that is $5,000. And immediately Jerome says, "Hey, we good. We got it." Franklin says, "Hey, that's a lot of money. Let's hold off." And immediately when you see that happen, you see Biscuit, one of the guys that Peaches shot at the house. You see his eyes the wheels start spinning in terms of hearing that Franklin has that type of money. Jerome Franklin, tells Jerome outside, tells Jerome once they walk outside the bail bondsman, "Hey, we don't want to show these guys we had that type of money, or we don't want to show that type of money." And Franklin was completely right, because one of the guys, Biscuit, along with his older brother, who was not in the original scene with the bail bondsman, Biscuit, along with his older brother, attempts to rob Franklin. Jerome breaks in the house. They get shot by Peaches. You see argument. You see, and this is like in the middle of the night. You see all of them, Franklin, Louis, Jerome, all come to the once they hear the shots, come to the middle, come to the living room with guns in their hands, and as they now know that they have to kind of reset their security in terms of and try to clean up two bodies. So Peaches not only shoots the two dudes dead, but comes up with the idea of taking the bodies, burying it, and you see Jerome, you see Louis, Franklin try to clean up the mess as far as making it seem like nothing ever happened. Louis was shook, clearly. Franklin's upset at Jerome for the money comment. You see Jerome and you see Franklin somewhat try to keep things calm as Louis was a bit shook up. But this scene, Franklin told Jerome, like, what are you doing? Why are you loose lips? Listen, I always say loose lips sink ships. There was no need for Jerome to tell Franklin to say that in front of those two guys. Say that in front of Bell Bondsman. So, that was a mistake that almost cost them. But Peaches in that scene, Peaches earns his keep, and it has them thinking about or having to rethink security within the house. Gabrielle, Lucia, Gustavo, Gabrielle, Elias is the new queen pin. Lucille is having issues in terms of getting respect as a woman being the head of a cartel, of a drug cartel in her own right. So she's getting turned away. She's having a hard time. She complains that this would have never happened with her father or her uncle. She's trying to find another buyer. She's trying to find another buyer so she can another buyer to move her product. She knows she has a great product. So she talks to a couple buyers. She goes to a couple buyers. One forces her to actually use the product to show how good the product is. And then we meet Gabriella Elias, who is at first reluctant to deal with this new product. She's used to, she's old school. She's used to dealing with the heroin. She said, claims that the product Lucille has makes people crazy. And we know Gabriella is not to be played with, just immediate to her body language. And she basically tells Lucille, I'll talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. So she's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and will be a force to be reckoned with over the course of the season. Lucille tells her, look, I will take all the risks in terms of front the product and the money. So basically all the risks I will be taking, or if you just give me a chance to show that this product can move, and the fact that we can make a lot of money with this product and how powerful it is. So Lucille's kind of a little bit desperate right now in a sense of getting time to earn respect as a woman kingpin, and trying to, in essence, replace her father and Ramiro, and also the fact that Pedro is at this point is AWOL. So she, still trying to find Pedro. Also mentions that he'll probably never come back. She says, "Hey, we killed her father. We killed his father. He's definitely not going to let that go." We'll see that play out in the not next episode, but even at the end of this episode. Speaking of that, Pedro, Lucia, Gustavo. This is towards the end of it. This is the second to last scene in the episode. Gustavo goes to use the bathroom. They're in the warehouse. It's dark. Pedro, Lucia hears a noise, thinks it's Gustavo. She gets a gun, comes out, and it's Pedro. Who again, this is 4 months later. Pedro has a beard now. He has been, in essence, on the run. We'll find out where he exactly was at over the course of the next couple of episodes, but he pops up just out of nowhere, and Lucille sees him and Gustavo sees him. So that's something to that again we'll find out more about that over the course of the next couple episodes. And the last scene is Franklin and Teddy. Teddy follows Franklin. Teddy again is desperate because again the government has cut his funding for the war. So again he needs a drug dealer to move the cocaine to sell the cocaine. He has pictures of Franklin, Leon, and of course one of the big things that happened in this episode was Avi getting busted. Avi, of course, is a guns dealer, deals guns and drugs. So that hurts Franklin as well as Teddy. So that was a big loss for both of them up until this point, because Avi's charge was clearly more serious than Leon's was. So Teddy goes and follows Franklin and completely runs him off the road, and then pretends as if he did it by accident. Checks in with Franklin, as asks him about his neck. Then we see him tase Franklin and says, "Sorry, kid." I don't want to step on the next episode that I do, but to say that this was unnecessary by Teddy would be the understatement of the year. So I will flush this out more in the next episode. There'll be basically an entire episode to talk about Franklin and Teddy finally meeting. So we'll talk about that over the next episode. But Teddy doing this was what I mean, completely unnecessary. It was absolutely unnecessary for him to run Franklin off the road to get his attention. MVP gotta be Peaches. I mean, Peaches has to be MVP. He saves their life. He saves everybody's life. They were gonna forget about just getting robbed. They were getting robbed and possibly killed. So he already proved his worth, and coming up with the idea to bury the bodies, basically making sure that taking Jerome with him to bury the bodies. Of course, we will find out more about Peaches over the course of this season, but he immediately earned his keep over the course of this episode. Another thing, Franklin, in that opening montage, Franklin is using ice cream trucks as distro. So again, beginning of season 1, he's chastising kids about stealing ice cream or chips out the ice cream truck. Now, fast forward to season 2, episode 1, he's using the ice cream trucks as distro. You remember he made the deal with the ice cream man at the end of last season and the season finale of season 1. So that was in the montage. Overall, very solid episode. I would give it an A-, to be honest with you. It set up the entire season. The Teddy Franklin dynamic, the Lucille, Gabrielle, Elias, dynamic, and Teddy, and of course 2 of these new characters that will play vital roles. Matt, Teddy's brother, and of course also Peaches, who will play a vital role. There was also a mention of a character that we won't see that we've already talked about in season 4, Tanasi, Franklin's ex-girlfriend. That, again, when I first saw this season, when it first came out, I did not even think of the girl's name. She, of course, was in season 4, played a big role in season 4. That just goes to show you. That just shows you that you have to pay attention to everything with this type of show, because they will go back and use something like that. But Tanasi was mentioned as Franklin's ex. This was the first mention of Tanasi, who again, and we remember in season 4 tried to absolutely set up Franklin, was used by Manboy to set up Franklin. I can say that now because we already reviewed season 4, did a podcast on season 4. So that I found that interesting. Hearing her name during this season, and then she doesn't appear to season 4. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. We'll be back next week with the segment episode 2, The Day. Remember, we're only doing one Snowfall episode a week, so we'll be back next Sunday with episode 2, The Day. We have another podcast coming up where we will continue to preview the NFL and do some college football as well in the middle of the week. So I will see you in a couple of days, or you will hear from me in a couple of days. Have a great rest of your evening. So long.